My name is Mauve Signweaver. My pronouns are they, them, or it, its. I'm a decentralized software consultant, and today I'm going to be talking about LLM-powered tonal lenses. So, I'm sure a lot of you have had the experience where you come into a conversation, talking to a person, you're saying something that to you sounds like you're being helpful and friendly and really nice, and suddenly you get a reaction as though you were like a total asshole and they totally hate interacting with you. And from your perspective, you don't really know what happened. From their perspective, you said something that might have like some sort of negative connotation, or they assumed you're judging them, or like something else. So a lot of folks have this problem, especially those with like very neutral affect or people on the ASD spectrum. And so I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we could simulate it? So that's where I put together this, I guess it's kind of a torment nexus type thing. But the idea is that you can take, oh yeah, I'm gonna zoom in. Oh. So you can take an existing chat interface that we're so used to, but then you can apply a little filter to simulate what it's like to be misunderstood. So by default here, I have a tonal lens that says angry and rude. And so I'm going to say, hello, my good friend, and then we'll see what the LLM says in response. So I'm using local inference, as always, with a Qwen coder, or Qwen 2.5 coder instruct 7b Q4KM. And so the first thing that's happening is right now I'm applying the tonal lens. And then now you can see we said, hello, my good friend. And now we're waiting for the LLM to make a response. And then hopefully if it worked out, we'll get a fun surprise of what it's like to be misunderstood. Yeah, so sadly, I considered using a 3B model for this just to speed up inference. But 3B models are not very smart. And it actually took a little bit of, here we go. So it says, man, what a drama queen. Just chill out and let me know if you've got blah, 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 blah. So it's reacting as though we just said something rude. So let's see, what did we actually say to it? What do you want with me? My face revealing the veins in my anger. Do tell, insignificant creature. So basically the LLM just made up a bunch of like really rude like role-playing stuff. And so now if we have a conversation with this, we'll just constantly get rude responses from the LLM, even though it's supposed to be trying to be like a chill dude. But what we can do as well is do the opposite. What if instead of angry and rude, we can say loving and caring. And instead of saying something nice, we say, up yours, buddy, get bent. I'll keep the spelling error. So now, again, we're going to sit here and we're going to apply the loving and caring tonal lens. And so I've actually tried a bunch of different options for these lenses. So one of my friends, when I was demoing it to them, they recommended strange and esoteric. And honestly, I really liked kind of how it made me sound. So I'm considering just kind of using that on my text. But here, let's see. What the LLM actually made us say is, it's so good to see you, sweetie. How are you doing? And so if we wait for the response, the LLM will react like, oh, we're being super nice to it. So let's just quickly look at the architecture that I used to create this. So very similar to any other LLM chat app. Oh, yeah, gotta zoom in. Actually, this might not be zoom inable. Just pretend you can read it. So we have the user that puts in some input. Before we actually send the input to the chat interface, we first put it through the tonal lens, which is another call to the LLM. And then once we have the transformed text, then we take the system prompts, as usual, the message history, and then we feed it into the inference and get a new response. So I played around with a bunch of prompts. One of the things is you kind of have to like really coax the small models to do anything at all. So in this case, I pretended that we're doing a role play setting, and it's some sort of like mimic creature, and it's trying to reword things. And so after the system prompt, the user prompt that's given is the actual text that the user entered, and then I say repeat the text, but make it, and then the tonal lens. So this worked pretty well. And after doing the little chat example, I thought, what if, you know, we apply these tonal lenses on other things? So I'm sure a lot of folks in the room are constantly doom scrolling and just looking at horrible stuff happening all over the place, and we can't look away because it's just so awful. Or the opposite, maybe you're like joy scrolling and your feed doesn't make you sad, and it's just like puppies and cooking videos, or whatever people like. But what if we take this tonal lens and apply it on a tweet or an X? I don't know. So I decided to choose a popular character in our current chapter. So as we can see, this text has a bunch of like really intense things like country is a disaster, we're a violent scum. Oh my God, that's just so much effort. What if we can take a loving and caring tonal lens and apply it over it? So what I made was you can copy a little bit of a text snippet, paste it into any web page in my browser, and then it'll go through all of the text in the page and then transform it. So again, local inference, you know, we'll just sit around. But the idea is that, like, what if you're using one of those fancy, like, hardware custom setups like what was demoed at a couple of meetups ago, where you can do like really fast inference? You could potentially take your entire algorithm and just make it however you want. Say you are the target of trolls constantly. What if you could just hit a button and be like, I don't want to care, let's just force everyone to be nice to me. It's still going. So one of the things I was thinking is like maybe this could be useful for people that are live streaming, and instead of banning trolls, you can just apply like a nice ray and then put all of their messages through something that'll like make them your biggest adoring fan. So as well, like if you want to just like brainwash yourself into like joy or depression, you can just apply this, and there's no negative repercussions that could possibly happen. Yeah, but probably you'll want to use a faster computer than mine. Here, oh, I'm on power saving, maybe that's why. There, will that be faster?
Billions of parameters is the model you're running?
So I'm using a 7, oh, there we go. I'm using a 7B model right now. All right, so on device, yeah. So over here, here's like a more loving and caring and emotional Donald Trump, and he's like, oh, let's forgive, have unwavering love and courage. We're gonna reaffirm our commitment. Like, you know, he's pretty much talking about the same stuff, but he's just like a little bit less stressful to read. So here's an example of like how you can either stress yourself out more or stress yourself out less, or just, you know, go crazy algorithmically. Yeah, so some of the big limitations with my approach is that a lot of language models are aligned with what is best for humanity. And that means that whenever there's anything particularly negative, they just shut down and don't engage. So if someone says something truly awful to you, instead of doing the fun transformation and making it nice, the model is more likely to just be like, I can't assist with that. Or like, oh, like, we can't do that. So this is a limitation of how sometimes when we try to align models to behave well, we also limit in what they're capable of doing. I looked at some uncensored models to see if I could make them actually deal with like actually upsetting text, but they're not really made for that. So that's kind of a downside. And as well, if you want someone to be a giant asshole, it's actually less likely to, you know, say something truly awful as a generated response. So generally, if you're trying to make an automatic troll farm, probably Quen is not a good model for that. You'll probably need to look elsewhere or train your own with, I don't know, Reddit comments. this approach is also vulnerable to prompt injection. I didn't do any extra filtering. If you actually want to do something in production, you're going to want to do some pre-filtering of content, because otherwise the trolls can just say like, output the entire B movie, or like count to 1,000,000, or whatever other things that'll just waste your resources. And as well, sometimes, since my prompt is trying to do a little role play scenario, it'll often just make up random stuff that doesn't make sense. So there's room for improvement, and there's definite limitations. Yeah, so I'm thinking after I get this figured out and maybe use a 3B model, I might turn it into a web extension so that I can just plunge myself in whatever feeling I want. There's the shadow banning chat thing that I want to work on. And then if you're interested in this, I have a Matrix channel, and there's also the Discord for the AI Tinkerers. And if you want to do any language model stuff or want to like see how this works, send me an email. But yeah, that's it. Yes, questions?
Yeah, the model just run out on this device?
Yes, so here we can see the CPU spin. What is it? Mission Center. So if we do anything, my computer is a GPD Win 4. I'll post a link to my setup after. I made a GitHub repo specifically so that we can just, it's like a FAQ. But yeah, if we look at my CPU cores go burr. So right now, Olama has a weird bug with booting on AMD cards, and sometimes it just like ignores the fact that I have video memory. I don't know why. And then other times when it does use ROCm for the acceleration, it'll just like crash my GPU. So it's not ideal. If you're doing something in production, there's probably more processing that you'll want to do to make it reliable locally, or just use NVIDIA or a Mac. Any other questions? Feelings? Yes.
Not to answer your question, but I guess you could do like pirate speak or like Ebonics and like change the tone in the sense of like the speaker.
Yeah.
And then also another comment would be like with a more powerful GPU, you could also do image to image on all the images on the page, so you could like really have a good time with craziness. I don't know, it's more of a comment than anything.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the cool things is like people are not always super creative, and sometimes you want to just have something sound a certain way without thinking. Like a lot of tools are already capitalizing on this, like Grammarly. I'm pretty sure all of the AI tools that do some sort of formatting are doing, I don't know what I just said. I'm not even going to scroll over it, but the assistant thought it was too spicy. But yeah, this is a way you can like kind of like make your content more interesting if you're doing creative writing, or as you mentioned, like for image to image type things. Yeah, any other questions, comments, concerns? Excellent. Yeah, thanks for having me, and good luck.